Welcome back to my Transformers Prime episode reviews. Today, we're taking a look at the episode Hurt. In this episode, Bulkhead is critically injured after his battle with Hardshell over the Tox-En, and Miko is very worried about her partner. We begin this episode with Jack, RC, Bumblebee, and Miko returning from their trip to New York City, when they are greeted with the horrifying scene of Ratchet trying to shock Bulkhead back to life with defibrillators. Miko is obviously very upset to see Bulkhead in this condition.
If I hadn't gone to New York...
There's nothing you could have done. It's not your fault. You got that?
Got it.
Aw, poor Miko. Also, you can tell that she's going to do something reckless. After all, she is Miko. On board the Nemesis, Megatron berates his troops for losing 3 out of the 4 relics. But Hardshell informs him that Bulkhead was destroyed. Back at the Autobot base, Bulkhead is still in critical condition.
Wheeljack's on his way.
I can't believe you're giving up on Bulkhead already!
All I meant was Wheeljack and Bulkhead are close. I thought he'd want to be here.
I know what you meant!
Wow, I don't know if it was the acting or something else, but this little exchange really hit hard for me. Wheeljack arrives and refers to Ratchet as Doc. I guess Ratchet is either fine with his new nickname, or maybe he just doesn't want to correct Wheeljack considering the circumstances. Miko sneaks on board the jackhammer and both agree to work together to get the con who hurt Bulkhead. Miko and Jackie together? The cons don't stand a chance. Back on board the Nemesis, Hardshell is bragging about snuffing out Bulkhead's spark to his fellow Insecticons and any Viacons who happen to be nearby, which we know to be untrue. So obviously Hardshell is full of beryllium baloney. Hardshell shot Bulkhead in the back like a coward. Hardly the most honorable move for someone who claims to be a great warrior.
Detailing was so much easier when Breakdown was around.
Aw, poor Knockout. He misses his boyfriend. But there seems to be some infighting in the Decepticon ranks.
I just buffed that!
Meanwhile, Wheeljack sends Miko into an active Decepticon Energon mine to scout it.
There's another chamber. Looks like they're just using it for storage.
Miko, don't you know that the first rule of sneaking around is that you don't talk? How do you expect to be like Solid Snake if you keep chatting? Nonetheless, this is obviously pretty reckless of Wheeljack to endanger Miko like this. Although he is a wrecker, it's kind of in the job title. So Miko runs for her life as Wheeljack dispatches Viacon after Viacon. Jackie calls Megs and makes him an offer he can't refuse.
But I'm gonna keep on hitting them, one by one, until you give me what I want. The Insecticon scum who tried to frag Bulkhead.
Tried.
We then see a sweet little moment between Wheeljack and Miko as they both worry about Bulkhead. Aww. Wheeljack goes to face Hardshell alone. You know, the way Jackie fights, I wouldn't be surprised if he had some cyber ninja training like Prowl and Jazz.
Talk during battle is a sign of weakness.
Oh really? Spider-Man tends to do that a lot, and he's literally one of the strongest superheroes around. Seriously, he actually is. Look it up. Things aren't looking good for Wheeljack when Miko comes to the rescue, blasting Hardshell with a couple of missiles. And as Wheeljack and Miko escape the swarm of Insecticons, Wheeljack takes them all out with his cachet of grenades. Back at the Autobot base, you know, you're going to leave scratches in the floor like that.
Bulkhead will survive. He may never be fully functional again.
I'm Not sure I want to see Bulk right now. Not like this.
I'm never leaving you again.
And we end this episode on board the Nemesis with Megatron asking who killed Hardshell.
It was a human girl.
Well, this was certainly a very emotional episode of Transformers Prime. This episode definitely hit differently today compared to when I first watched it years ago, before I had really suffered much loss in my own life. Before, I would have said that this episode was a story about revenge. Now, I'd say that this is a story about grief. Miko and Wheeljack both care for Bulkhead so much. They would want nothing more than to see him well again. But they feel totally helpless when it comes to trying to fix him. Just like how many people do when someone they love is seriously ill or dying. And so yes, the only thing they can think to do is to punish the one responsible. But as we see at the end, killing Hardshell does not help Bulkhead. No doubt this is a very somber episode of Transformers Prime, but that's kind of what makes it a great one. This episode definitely brings the feels. It may not be the exciting fun time we normally have with this show, but I think it says something to the show's credit that we can feel sorry for a bunch of made-up cartoon robots. And their human pets. Well, let me know what you thought of this episode down in the comments. Remember to like, subscribe, and do all that other fun stuff. And I'll see you here next week for the next episode, Out of the Past. So I'll see you back here next week for that.